This is a story about a potato dog, a carrot man, a marshmallow car, and a little boy called Jake. It's a Grandpa Joe story for Jake, and we'll call it The Marshmallow Car. Once, in a place far away at a time so long ago that even time has forgotten, there lived a boy. This was no ordinary boy. Although he was only 7 years old, he was strong as two boys and much, much smarter. But the thing that made him really different from other boys of his age was he liked vegetables. Now that's very strange. Boys do not like vegetables. Offer a boy a sprout, even at Christmas, and he'll run a mile. Offer a boy a cabbage for lunch and he'll think you're trying to murder him. Boys do not like vegetables. But this boy did. Well, he liked vegetables, but not to eat. He liked them as friends. Now that's unusual. He was a very pleasant boy with a mop of brown sandy hair and the most friendly smile you could ever see. Oh, and his name was Jake. Now Jake lived on an island in the middle of a blue, blue sea, and although he could see other islands on the horizon, he had never visited any, since his dad didn't have a boat. One day, when he was feeling a bit bored, he decided to make a dog out of potatoes. He got a little potato for the head. He made sure it had two good eyes in it and a bigger potato for its body. Then he fixed them together with sticks, put in 4 more sticks for legs and a little piece of spaghetti for a wee waggly tail. Something was missing. He got 2 little leaves from a bush his mum was growing in a pot, and lo and behold, 2 floppy ears. His dog was complete. Jake was really pleased with his potato dog, and he called it Spud. I wonder why. Now, I have a new friend to play with, he thought. However, since it was a very hot day and making the potato dog had tired him out, he decided he would take a little nap before going out to play. Well, you'll never guess what happened. He had no sooner laid his head down on a big, fat, comfy cushion on the garden chair he was sitting on when there was a loud clap. A thunderclap! And he woke with a start. What on earth was that, he thought. But before he could think any more, the little potato dog, Spud, who seemed to have grown to the size of a Yorkshire Terrier, had jumped up on his lap and was licking his chin with a long, very wet tongue. Yuck, said Jake. But the little dog just wagged his spaghetti tail furiously. Jake was really surprised. Had that thunderclap brought the potato dog to life? It must be magic. This was wonderful. Now he would have a real doggy friend to play with. Come on, Spud. Let's see where that noise came from, he said, and ran down to the beach with his little dog barking and dashing along with him. When he got there, Jake looked all round to see where the noise had come from. But there was no sign of anything, except that the wind was getting stronger and the waves were getting bigger and bigger. My goodness, thought Jake, there's going to be a big storm. I hope there's no one out in a boat. Just then, Spud ran down to the water's edge and darted in and out of the waves, barking furiously. Don't be silly, Spud, shouted Jake. You can't frighten waves. They're only water. But watch you don't get swept into the sea. Spud barked even louder and jumped up and down until Jake decided to investigate. What on earth is that? He thought when he noticed that Spud was actually barking at something very orangey coloured that was lying half in and half out of the water. Jake ran down to the edge, and there, lying on the sand, puffing and panting and spluttering, was a little man. Not an ordinary man. No, this little man was actually a carrot, with green tufty hair, 2 little arms, and 2 tiny legs sticking out near his bottom. He had the nicest green eyes that you would ever see. "Help," he croaked. "Please help me." And he tried to crawl out of the water onto the beach, where the waves tried to pull him back. Jake waded in and caught the little man under the arms and pulled him out of the waves. He seemed very light. "I always thought carrots were heavier," thought Jake, as he lifted him up onto his feet, and Spud jumped and barked and wagged his spaghetti tail round and round him. Once the little carrot man was standing up, Jake found that they were about the same size. The little man wrapped his arms round Jake and said, "Thank you. You are very kind. My name is Carotini, and you have saved my life." "That's good," replied Jake, a bit puzzled. He hadn't expected a talking carrot. "But what happened to you? Where did you come from?" "It's a long story," said Carotini. "I come from there, up there." And he pointed to a little island away to the west on the horizon. "And I have swum all the way from there to here because we need your help." "My goodness," said Jake. "Tell me what's wrong," as Spud jumped about and licked his hands and feet. "Well," said Carotini, "the boss of our island is a very big and powerful turnip. Apart from him, only carrots live on our island, and he seems to have got some magical powers from somewhere. And they've gone all wrong. He used to be nice, but they've made him do bad things. And now he's making thunderstorms, and all the downpours of rain are washing our little baby carrots out of the ground before they've had a chance to grow. They'll never grow up if that keeps happening. It's terrible, but he won't stop even if we ask him. He says we need to bring him the best present in the world, but won't say what it is. Please help us." Jake scratched his head through his fuzzy mop of hair. "I'd love to help," he said, "but I'm not sure what to do. I don't know what would be the best present in the world. For me, it would be a big bag of marshmallows, but I don't think everyone likes them. I know, my dad loves his car. It's a racer. Perhaps your boss would like one too." Carotini's face lit up, which is difficult for a carrot. "That's a great idea, but where will we get a car?" "I'll ask my dad," said Jake. The wind had died down as the 3 of them, Carotini, Spud and Jake, made their way to the little wooden house where Jake lived with his mum and dad. Outside, a beautiful, shiny, red car with the number plate that said BAN 3RMAN, which looked quite like Bannerman, was sitting. "That's Dad's car," said Jake. "I'm sure your boss would love it. I'll ask Dad if we can give it to him." Jake's dad was a kindly man, but not that kindly. He loved that car. "No," he said. "Oh, please." "No." "Please, please, Dad." "No, no." "Oh, please." "Oh, no." "I don't think he wants us to do it," said Jake. Spud stopped running round and started jumping up and down, saying, "Marshmallows, marshmallows," in a doggy potato kind of way. "What a good idea," said Jake. "We could make a car out of marshmallows and give it to the boss. He'll never know the difference. He's a turnip. I've got a big bag of marshmallows in my room, and I'm sure we could make one pretty quickly." Jake dashed upstairs and brought down the biggest bag of marshmallows you would ever have seen. Well, I like them, he explained. Right, this should do it. Let's get started. Well, you should have seen what they made. The wheels were easy, of course, marshmallows are round, and the upholstery was like pink puffy cushions, the most comfy car that ever there was, and the rest of the car was white and ever so plush. What's your boss called? Asked Jake. Neep, answered the little carrot man. OK, said Jake, and he wrote N33P on a flat piece of marshmallow and stuck it to the back of the car. It looked as if it said Neep. The finished article was so splendid that Jake's dad almost wanted to swap his car for the marshmallow one, but he managed to stop himself. Now, all they needed was a boat to take them and a car over the sea to Carrot Island and give the present to Neep so he would stop doing bad magic and let the little baby carrots have peace enough to grow. Jake's dad didn't have a boat. He didn't like the sea, but Jake knew someone who did. His Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe lived in a rather run-down wooden shack at the edge of the sea, near the harbour, and sometimes took tourists out in his rickety old boat for trips round the island. Grandpa Joe liked Jake, and Jake knew that if he asked nicely, Grandpa Joe would do anything for him. When they got there, they found Granny Kate in the kitchen, making a big pot of vegetable soup for lunch. Granny, where is Grandpa? Asked Jake excitedly. I think he's down by the harbour, said Granny. Do you think you could take him this flask of soup, please? OK, said Jake, and he and the others rushed off to find Grandpa. Grandpa Joe, could you please take my friends and me over to Carrot Island with this car, please, please? We've got to give it to the boss there. The boss of Carrot Island, old Neepy, you mean? Said Grandpa Joe. I'm not sure he deserves to get a fine, rather tasty-looking car like that. And he ran his finger over the steering wheel, then licked it. He's been acting very strangely recently, and we all think he's gone a bit doolally. However, if you want to give him this sweet little car, I'll help you. So Grandpa Joe brought out his rickety old boat. Luckily, it had been a ferry at North Keswick in its heyday, so they were able to push the marshmallow boat onto it for the crossing. Off they set, Spud, Caratini, Jake and Grandpa Joe at the helm wearing his lucky black hat, and soon they were well on their way over the blue, blue sea. Do you think the boss will like his present, Grandpa Joe? Asked Kate. Jake, I really don't know. He's usually such a sweet fellow, but he's been acting very strangely, and I don't even know if he can actually drive, replied Grandpa Joe. But we'll soon find out. Soon they bumped on to the beach in Carrot Island, and there waiting for them was the boss himself. What are you doing here? He shouted. We don't want visitors. Go away. Oh, don't be such a grump, shouted back Grandpa Joe. My grandson Jake and his friends have brought you a present. You'll love it. It better be a good one, replied the boss, and his face lit up a little as he approached the boat. What have you got for me? If it's not good, I'm going to make another thunderstorm. I've got magic, you know. Grandpa Joe, Caratini and Jake pushed the marshmallow car onto the beach, and the boss stood amazed looking at it. What is it? He said. It's a car, of course, said Jake, amazed that someone didn't recognise a car. Well, it was a wee bit different from normal cars, right enough. A car? What's a car? Said the boss. A thing that you can drive round the island in, replied Jake. But there are no roads on the island, said the boss. Ah, what a rotten present, said the boss. I think I'll do a thunderstorm. Jake and Caratini rushed forward. No, please, said Jake, just sit in it. You'll love it. The boss slowly lowered his hand, which had been pointing at the clouds. Okay, but I don't see the point. I can't drive. But he lowered himself into the driving seat and held the pink marshmallow steering wheel. How does it go? That was when Jake remembered that they hadn't put an engine into the car. It couldn't go. Oh, just go broom, broom, said Grandpa Joe quickly. You'll love it, and winked at Jake. Broom, broom, said the boss. Broom, broom. Nothing happened. This is a rotten present. I'm going to make a thunderstorm. He took hold of the side of the car and started to get out, but a piece of marshmallow stuck to his fingers. He licked it off. Oh, that's nice, he said, and broke another piece off and popped it in his mouth. That is nice, he repeated, and started to pull more and more bits off and crammed them into his little mouth. Come on, you guys, try this. It's yummy. Well, Jake knew it was yummy, since marshmallow was his favourite sweet in the world. So he and Spud and Caratini and Grandpa Joe, who doesn't really like marshmallow, all joined in. By the end, when the car had completely disappeared, they were all lying on the ground completely full up, and the boss seemed to be fatter, smoother, and nicer than he had ever been, and he was sweet. That was the best present in the world. You are really nice people, even the weird potato dog, and I love you all, said Neep sweetly. You've sweetened him up, whispered Grandpa Joe to Jake. Now's the time to make him promise not to make any more thunderstorms. Mr. Neep, will you promise not to make any more thunderstorms, please? Asked Jake nervously. You're such a sweet person. It just wouldn't seem right for you to do nasty things anymore. The boss smiled, a big smile, rubbed his tummy, and said, Of course, young sprout, I promise. But you must promise me that I can have more of that wonderful stuff to eat. And enough for all the carrot people on the island. I think we will all be so happy. Yes, of course, said Jake. And that's what happened. Jake, Spud and Grandpa Joe sailed back to their own island and arranged for a regular shipment of marshmallows to be sent to the boss every week. There were no more thunderstorms. All the little Carotinis grew up big and strong, and Jake had great fun with his new puppy, Spud. Absolutely everybody lived happily ever after. The end.